Welcome to this episode of Good Morning Mama. Today we are going to switch it up a little bit and do something really fun. So I'm going to ask Chelsea some questions and she's going to ask me some questions. We both have no clue what they are, but we're just going to do like a Q&A. So let's jump right in.
Welcome to Good Morning Mama. We're two instant best friends with a combined 13 children, ages newborn to 16, talk about all things motherhood. Our new mom versus seasoned mom dynamic will leave you laughing, and our Christian values and positive outlooks will leave you inspired. So grab your coffee, pull up a chair, and enjoy our visit.
You have to acknowledge we have a guest. Cashin is in the background.
Real life. It's good. I'm probably going to have several in and out because this is one of our last few weeks of summer break and all of my kids are home and nobody is taking a nap right now. So it might get interesting.
It's going to get wild.
I know. So I'm going to jump in and ask you the first question. Okay. So you have two little kids, ages 2 and 1, and you are about to have your third baby this week. So what would you say the hardest part is about being pregnant and having two kids that are those ages?
You're looking at it. No.
You gotta just pick one too. I mean, you can't list 100. No, I'm just kidding.
It's definitely well too, like I think it's just the fact for me, their ages is maintaining like a calm, because I know that like me being regulated helps them regulate. So when I'm this hormonal, it's hard for me to like truly just manage my kind of like frustration levels, because typically I'll have a longer leash, but it's a little bit difficult. And when they're this young, I try to talk to them as much as I can, but genuinely like tantrums are tantrums and they're going to happen no matter what. So managing that and kind of being overstimulated myself when they are so young and so dependent on me can be really challenging at times. So it's a lot of prayer and meditation and like just rolling with the punches. That's the hardest thing. And then the second hardest thing for me probably is just physically, it just hurts to be constantly up and down and chasing two little tiny toddlers that just want to fall off couches. He's doing good though. Okay, we got it. That.
Pregnancy is hard anyway, but you've said this is your most challenging pregnancy so far, right?
Yeah, because it's the most painful. I genuinely am like the self-care, while it's automatic for a lot of my things that I do, it's still not where it was. I'm getting way less sleep than I ever have. And I'm running after kids all of the time. No matter how much help I can have from my husband or family or whatever, it's like, it's still a constant, and it's just constant messes because of their ages, genuinely, they're still learning. Yeah. So,
flip it around with my next question. I'll ask you your favorite parts next.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So what is a question for me? You get to go next.
Yeah. So, how do you do it with 9 and maintain such a peaceful, like just calm sense about you? I mean, how do you maintain your peace?
So I get asked that a lot. I would say a few things. So the first thing I would say is I didn't just have 9 kids in one day. Like I wasn't like, it didn't just happen overnight. Like we grew to this point over 16 years. And so if you gave me 9 kids 16 years ago, I'd be very overwhelmed, very frazzled, and just, not this calm. But I feel like the older I get, and also the more kids I have, there is a calmness that comes with that. And I can't put my finger on why, but I kind of joke with people, if you want to be calm, just have 9 kids. I mean, it just, patient and calm. But I think it's the perspective that comes with that, is that you can't like maintain your home and your property and your vehicle and everything to the standard that you may have wanted it at when you were in your mid-20s or before children. You simply can't. And if you do try that, then you're just going to end up frazzled, because like you said, kids are kids, and it doesn't mean they're bad kids if they make messes or if they walk in the house with dirty shoes. It just means that they're kids. And so, I give them grace. And I mean, they don't do things to be destructive on purpose, but them just being kids has made me relax a lot more and just be like, okay, they spilled milk. Here's an example. The other day, Ben wanted to play with his cars. He also wanted to eat cereal. And so the rules are that you eat in the kitchen. But he thought, well, I want to play with my cars close to the kitchen. I'll just put my cereal next to my cars on the rug and then do both. And so he's playing with cars with his cereal next to him.
Technically following the rules.
Yeah, he's not like intentionally breaking the rules. He's just
a loophole.
Just kind of in a conflict here because he wants to do things. And he ended up playing and not realizing his cereal was right there, and he spilled the milk all over the rug and the cereal went everywhere. And so like me a long time ago would have probably just gotten really angry with that and gotten upset about that. But instead I said, Ben, we eat in the kitchen. Have I ever said, okay guys, it's time for breakfast, let's all go eat on the rug? And he goes, no, never said that. Like, well, we don't eat on the rug, why would we do that? So where the towels are, now go clean it up. And he's like, okay. And then he cleaned it up. And then he decided that he wanted to continue playing with cars and then eat a granola bar in the van on the way to church instead of try that again. Yeah. So I just kind of, and also I say this too, but I don't like how being angry feels. So it's almost like a selfish reason that I don't yell a lot and that I am calm. It's kind of selfish in a way because I seriously don't like the way yelling and anger feels in my body. Like I don't like that emotion. And so I choose to just not go there because I don't like how it feels. So I just don't. So the other part is absolutely a God thing. It is a faith thing. It is the song that we sing at church all the time, like, Lord, I need you. Every hour I need you. Yeah. I love that song because
every minute, every second, every millisecond.
Every I need you. It's like that too. And if I am feeling tired or drained or overwhelmed, or I pray and I just ask God to help me, give me wisdom for the next moments, like help me show his love in this challenge, and it just keeping God at the forefront of my thoughts as I parent is a huge part of this.
Absolutely.
Those are my tips. Okay, next question for you. What is your favorite part about having kids so close together?
So I didn't have siblings that I lived with growing up. My dad remarried and had my two sisters. So I was with them half the time. And I didn't get to experience that piece. So I kind of grew up as an only child, kind of grew up with siblings. And they were 12 years younger than me. So that was an age difference. So seeing it in real life, the siblings together, even now when they're this young, they get genuinely so excited when each one of them wakes up from the nap and they want to go see their sister or their brother. I watch Kaya like genuinely trying to take care of Cashton, like, and calm him down if he's upset or frustrated. And she like offers him a toy, or for a while there, she would bring him a blanket, like things that soothed her, she would give to him. So seeing that sibling bond is so cute, and watching them play together and just genuinely like learn life together it's the sweetest thing. So I love that. I was really concerned when I first got pregnant with Cashton. I was so nervous that I wasn't going to be able to give Kaya and Cashton like the one-on-one focus. Like I was reading books about it because I wanted to make sure I knew I was going to love them both, but I didn't know how I was going to be able to manage my time appropriately to make them both feel important and special. And I didn't know how I was going to do it. So I was grasping at straws, trying to find these tools, because I never wanted to, like, that the second child syndrome or the middle child syndrome, or I got so nervous about hearing that from like society that I just wanted to make sure that wasn't going to happen. And then they came, and it like really resonated with me that, yeah, and Cashin doesn't get as much of my time, but he gets Kaya
Yes.
and the whole different ball of wax
Yep.
that he gets even more love and even a different sense of attention. And so it's kind of like a mindset shift on how I look at it, that it is just genuinely, I mean, they're going to have each other when my husband and I are gone, so that to me is so cool that it made me want to do it again.
Yeah. And you're going to love it. I'm going to tell you. Oh, I'm so excited for you. But
Yeah.
that is so true though, because I get asked that a lot from a large family perspective. And I always try to say is the the one-on-one attention they get not only from us but from their siblings is something they would not have had without the siblings.
Yeah.
And like today Liam was rolling around on the floor with Bo. I don't do that. I don't roll around on the floor with my
Right.
kids. I do different things with them, but I'm not going to like roll around on the floor. But that's something that they get from siblings that is additional.
Right.
And I don't think that we need to look at it as, well, we're not giving them as much of our time. I feel like it's more of a quality over quantity thing with additional siblings
Yeah.
and with siblings like you have that are so close together and so little. That quality time they get with one another is not necessarily better than the one-on-one from a parent, but it's different and unique and so special.
Right. And to lead into my question for you, but I just want to add to that is having Caden, because he is so much older, but he's much closer to age to them, that when that special, because I know with my sisters, we didn't have that childhood bonding as much because we were just different ages. So I was more of like a motherly figure, like an older sister, helping them with like discipline and those kinds and really taking care of them. But I know as adults, they can call me and we have conversations that they wouldn't have with their parents. And I know that Caden, my bonus son's going to be able to have that same thing with these kids because they're closer in age and they can relate to them more in whatever's going on culturally than I can. So with that, because you guys do have such different age dynamics, how does your household operate? Like how do you kind of navigate bonding with each kid and then not obligating the older kids but involving them? Like the sibling bonding, how do you manage all of that?
Right. Good question. And I get asked that one a lot as well. So we are so fortunate that our older kids genuinely want to help with their younger kid siblings. That is something that I'm just so thankful for. And I've tried to think like, what would be my tips for that? Or, what are some reasons that our older kids don't feel like it's a chore or something they have to do, but rather something they want to do and they look forward to doing. And I think a lot of that is just the way that we talk about their siblings as, they are gifts to each other. These people will be with you your whole life. Like these,
Yeah.
even in squabbles, like that sibling is going to be there your whole life.
Right.
And you need to see them as, these are your closest friends that you will ever have. And there is that genuine love between them. And it is so heartwarming and it's beautiful to see. And I mean, I never want to paint a picture that it's all just, sunshine and roses all the time. I mean, absolutely, there are sibling squabbles, between a few of them more than others, just because of personalities and ages and dynamic. Um, but even through that, there's that there's that constant string that goes through all of them that is so like strong between them. There's so much love. And they get over their squabbles and then they're playing together nicely, and it just works out. But the way a lot of times it works is they just figure it out on their own and they just pair up and they do things together all throughout the day. And then the next day they might pair up with different siblings and do things together. And then there's a lot of work that goes into having a large family and also having a large home. And especially in the summer when they're all home all the time.
Right.
And so a lot of times what I will do is I'll just write down things that need to be done on a piece of paper or on the back of a paper plate. That's like my go-to because I just have it right there. I just flip it over. But it'll be like take the trash out, feed the animals, gather trash throughout the house, sweep the floor, you get it, like just things that need to be done, unload the dishwasher. And I'll just divvy them out to either one child or sometimes two children as like a group, like you two do this, and they just work together and everybody just gets it done. They don't complain about it. There's Benny.
Hi.
I'm talking about how awesome you are.
You are
and
awesome.
And they just do the chores, and they just know that many hands make light work, and they all just work together, get it done. I think that the older kids understand that the younger ones look up to them, and they have a big responsibility because as much as I would like to just say, we're the parents and you need to respect us because we're the parents, kids want to respect you also because of your actions and the way that you walk the walk, and you have to like earn their respect, and I respect that. I think that's awesome, but I tell the big kids that is true of the little kids looking at them, like they will respect you and they look up to you, and you guys have to live and talk and do things with that at the forefront of your mind, because all those little eyes are wanting to be just like you. And so I think in them knowing that, they kind of step up to that task, and it's just really cool to watch, like the older ones just take the younger ones under their wing and show them how to do things, and be responsible for their younger siblings if they're taking a walk around our property, or teaching them how to fish, or do things. It's really fun to watch. But the way it works is we just all work together, we do what needs to be done, we keep God at the center of our family. We we say sorry when we need to say sorry. We all just kind of pitch in. And
so that's a good kind of thing to jump off of, because I apologize to my kids if I make a mistake, and I look at it as a way, as like an example to show them how to ask for forgiveness, how to apologize, and how to forgive. Do you guys do that same sort of thing? Like, how does that work? Because for me, I know like I make mistakes quite often. And when I grew up, my mom was pretty good about it. But a lot of times, at least like in that older generation, it was like, yeah, but I'm the parent, so it doesn't matter. Like I can do as I say, not as I do.
Yes. You're so right. No, I think that, there's no perfect parent, and every opportunity to apologize, even to discipline, whatever the situation is. Parenting is hard and it's new territory. Like we've never done this exact stage ever before in this, at this time in life. So we're all figuring it out as we go, and we're going to make mistakes in that, and that's okay. But it is so important that we humble ourselves enough to admit when we're wrong, and then ask for forgiveness from our children. Like, if we do something and then later we say, that probably wasn't the best way to handle that, or, oh, I'm sorry, I thought you did this, but it wasn't you, and but it wasn't you, it was another child or another situation, and I'm so sorry. And I think every opportunity for asking forgiveness from our children, or admitting we're wrong, or even if it's a discipline thing, is an opportunity to show God's love through us to our children. And then when they also make mistakes, they will imitate that example that we did to them. And I know you and I have even talked about this, like our little girls, when we see them playing with their dolls and their little families, they will act out situations. And it is so cute. Like, like if, they'll act that out and they'll say, I'm sorry. And then like with the dolls, and they'll say, give each other a hug and say, I love you. And they hug and they say, I love you. Let's go play again. And they go play. But like, that's exactly how we do it. If we ask for forgiveness, we give them a hug. We tell them that, we love them, and then life goes on. And it's not something like just stay in forever. We're just, okay. And that's gone, and we move on, try again. And that's something too, like mom guilt is a real thing. And we have to just know that like every single day is another opportunity to try again. And we can try to be the best version of ourselves and just do things differently, learn from our mistakes from yesterday and try again. We don't need to live in mistakes that were made yesterday or the day before. If maybe we yelled, maybe we, handled the situation, how we didn't want to handle it. Well, today is a new day.
Yeah.
Try again, do better. We can do this. And also, like, I mean, I've said this to you before, but like surrounding yourselves like with an amazing friend, with great friends that you can share these challenges with, and like what works for you. I don't know what works for you, and like bounce ideas off. Like that is so helpful to just have like a sounding board or a good friend to just talk about challenges of motherhood with.
And I think on that, because that was one of my questions for you. So like, because I love being your friend. I know you love being mine. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I do.
But I value, because we have very similar outlooks and approaches to parenting and just life as a whole and how we kind of view things. So it's a lot easier because I can trust your judgment. While I know you've been there, I know you want similar outcomes to the way that I am. So I can trust your judgment. Whereas certain other people, we have a little bit of a different viewpoint, which is great. That's fine. But I don't exactly need their advice.
Yeah.
How do you deal with feeling mom judgment, or like, for me, one of my hardest things, and I think it is because I am still such a young mom, I take certain judgments to heart, or I get concerned if like my kids were out and my kids kind of misbehave. I don't want to be judged. I get nervous about what people are going to say, or if the way that I'm dealing with the tantrum is ignoring it and not talking, like rewarding the calm and ignoring the chaos, because otherwise, partially for my sanity, because I will just lose it, and especially being this hormonal, and I don't want to do that. So it's better for me to just kind of ignore it at the current time. Not that I'm ignoring my child, but I'm just not putting fuel on the fire.
Get it.
Yeah. There's judgment there, when it comes to certain people that I'm close with or whatever. So how do you navigate that, especially being online as well? So you have strangers, and then how do you navigate it like in your home too? Like, because I get nervous even like because it is my responsibility as the way that my marriage is structured. So I feel like if I make a mistake, it's kind of like a light bill not being paid. You know what I mean? Like,
it's a report card.
Great. My husband's great. But I'm like, oh man, I really messed that one up. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I get
how
it.
do you deal with it?
Good question. So I think that some of that also comes with age, because I feel like when I hit around 40, I just like stopped caring about other people's opinions. It's like the best thing ever. You just need to get to be a 40, and then you're like,
I'm sorry, Karla. This is the perfect time to worry about mom guilt. My baby's in a diaper licking a keyboard.
You know what? He's happy. He's not hurting himself. He's doing good.
Just give me a sec. Because I really want to hear your answer.
He's so funny. He's happy. I mean, what's he hurting?
Big deal. All right.
Okay. Hey, Mom. You're so funny. He's back. Okay. He's like, what can I get into now, Mom? Okay, so no, but like 40 is like a magical age, because you like just don't care anymore. Because one thing I have learned, especially from being on social media, is that everybody has an opinion, and they are not living in your home with your kids, and they still will tell you how to do it. I mean, they're going to tell you, they tell me all the time things that I'm doing wrong. And I just stop worrying about it, because most of these people are probably, they don't have a large family. They don't even have small children anymore. And if they did at one point, they're older and they've forgotten what it's like. And so, if they see a child in a diaper licking a keyboard, they're going to say, all kinds of judgment, and instead of giving grace. And we don't need that as mothers. And the children don't need that type of parenting either. They need a relaxed, calm mom that picks her battles and doesn't get upset if, things are happening that are not hurting anything. So I have definitely been there with people in person and also online. And one thing I tell my kids this too about friend situations. I say, if you would not ask that person for advice about raising children or life in general, then don't worry about their unsolicited opinion about anything. Like, you have to, as a mom, we have like this God-given instinct that is like a mother's instinct, and it is powerful, and it is something to pay attention to. And I feel like a lot of times we don't listen to that because we're worried about appearances or other people's opinions. But we have an instinct that we have an instinct that will tell us the things we need to worry about, the battles we need to pick.
You're speaking gold. I'm so sorry
right?
that this is happening right now.
Be like, right now, you're worried about what people might think about your sweet little healthy baby who's having the time of his life on a safe couch with you right there. And I'm sitting there thinking, you're awesome because look at you. You're recording a podcast. Your baby's fun. He's safe. There's nothing wrong with this. So, I mean, you have to just like be confident in your mothering and the raising of your own children, and just do you really, because no one else is your kid's mom, and you were made to be their mom for a reason. And you need to just trust your judgment because you know how to handle your children, and the people that are giving you opinions do not know that. So you just need to be confident.
And I think like the mother's intuition, I always thought I was like, yeah, that's like people like just making like thought like that's folktale. It is so true. It's like I know what each one of my kids is capable of. And I know, I can push them to certain limits, and I know their personalities are different. Like we are
what works and what doesn't work. Yeah.
Yeah, because we're with them day in and day out, and we were fortunate enough to grow them, and like all of that is so cool. So mother's intuition, you're so right. Just trust your judgment.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, on the flip side of that, if something is not going right, and maybe you do have a child who you're struggling with, and people are giving you advice, even if it's advice you don't want to hear, maybe challenge yourself to have an open mind to say, maybe I should try that, or maybe they are right. Or, if it's somebody who has raised a child that's similar and has went through that stage, maybe listen to them more than others or take into account what they're saying. But if it's just little things like, your child needs to wear shoes outside, and you don't make your children wear shoes outside, and you don't see anything wrong with it, or, whatever it is, then just let them bounce off of you. Pretend you're 40. It's the best thing. You just won't care. All right, next question for you. You are building a house right now. You're about to be done with it. What has been the most enjoyable part of that experience of, getting to build or design your home?
Well, so that's actually a really good question. Not actually, you ask great questions, but I never thought of that. The most exciting part is honestly knowing that all of my kids are going to be in their spot. I get to design like their playroom, their play areas, like everything is kind of built for them. So that part's like really exciting, and knowing
the creative part. Like being creative and designing that for them.
Yeah. And just knowing that there's like, this is like a milestone as our family grows, and really like, I don't know, just it's a cohesive togetherness. That's just really, really cool to experience with my husband. And it's a new way to like bond together. I mean, we've lived in homes and designed them, but never from the ground up, like from the studs. I've never experienced that. My husband's built a couple. But I've always done like renovations. I've never done it from beginning to end. And so that kind of creativity and seeing it come to light, and like, it's kind of scary because you're making kind of big decisions. that you really don't know how it's going to fully look until it comes together. So it's a little bit nerve-wracking, but it's definitely really exciting and interesting. And I'm thankful that you've done it a bunch so I can ask you like, hey, is this going to look ridiculous?
You're doing a good job. I'm excited. It's going to look awesome.
Yeah. So, how do you, because you do home projects all of the time, you're doing your home gym now,
Right now,
and you're doing a black wall, which intrigues me, but also I'm a scaredy cat. So how like you take bold design choices, but you make it like really flow? How?
Yeah. I wish I could put my finger on that too, but I have never been afraid of changing a room or changing the way our house looks. Because it is just paint or just wallpaper,
Yeah.
or it's just a hole in the wall to hang a picture that you can putty and paint over. Like, I know enough of how to repair things and how to do, home projects, that it never scares me to try something, because in the event that it is terrible and we hate it, you can just fix it. It's not a
Yeah.
big deal. It's just paint, or it's just whatever it is. And I have done that a few times where I put wallpaper up, end up not liking it, and so I just switch it. But it, usually what I do, and I have done this when we were building, and even now, when I get an idea for a home project, when I go to bed, I will close my eyes, and as I'm drifting off to sleep, I'm like walking through the house or that project, and I like visualize every inch of it. And I think of some really fun ideas. And then sometimes I fall asleep before I'm like even out of the room in my head. But I always like it's a fun thing for me to think about as I'm falling asleep, because there's nothing stressful. It's just all creative and fun. And then I usually, there's not anything else going on because I'm sleeping. So I'm able to focus on it. But that's where I do my best thinking, is just as my eyes are closed, I'm going to sleep, or I'm just somewhere quiet where I can focus. And I always say, when I'm decorating, and even when we built this house, it's 10,000 square feet and we built it from the ground up, and I made all the decisions, is do what you think, because the decisions I made in my home were not what everybody was doing, but they look great to me, and they're timeless, and they're not trendy. Everyone was painting their walls gray, and I did not. I did this canvas tan. And I had so many like of the builders say, are you sure you want to do this? Or are you sure you want to do that? Because like we're doing other homes and they don't do this. They're doing this. I'm like, yes, I'm sure. So do what you think. It's your home. Do what you like, because you're the one living there. And even if it's not what everybody else is doing, just if you love it, then do it.
Yeah. So that's great. That's a great piece. I love that. And that makes me feel better in some of my design choices, because even like the bolder bathrooms that we did, where I was like a little bit like, I hope this is going to be good. I used a really bold tile, and it was more expensive than we wanted to spend. And my husband was like, I think that's going to look good. And even the builder was like, that's a big space for that kind of a tile. And it turned out, and he's like, this is the best bathroom. And I'm like, I know, right? We were just there this weekend. I was like, I'm so excited. I wish we made it our main one. And there's other ones that were like actually suggested by the builder that were like, we were just kind of bored with it. We're like, oh man, we could have done something different there. So we know that we should pick bolder choices. Yeah. How did you deal with mistakes? Because we just walked in last weekend, and we have like a bigger stove going in than what the typical cabinet is. And so the cabinets were being installed, and they had the wrong plans, and they didn't have the right finishes like on the handles and those kinds of things. And I just let my husband handle it. But I definitely was like frustrated and kind of like, oh no. Like, I mean, I know things happen in construction, absolutely. But like, how do you just do you have any tips for staying on top of the subcontractors, making sure that they actually do what they're supposed to do and have the right plans? Any tips?
Well, okay, that's a good question. So we were originally going to build this home when we lived in Little Rock, so that whenever we moved here, we could just come into this home and it would be built for us. And we decided not to do that. And I'm so thankful that we did not, because I lived just down the driveway when we were building this house. So I would come by almost every day to see what was done. And some days it was hard to see if anything was done. I'm like, I saw people here, but I didn't see any work being done. And then other days I'd come in and I'm like, whoa, so much got done. My advice is to visit your home often as it's being built, because I would say most every week when I would visit, especially if it was while the workers were there, I would see something or change something that they didn't do on purpose wrong, but it was like, oh, like one time they were putting an air vent. It was like center on this main wall. It was like the like an air intake vent. It was like middle center on a main wall that I was going to like hang things on, and it would be like this big eyesore. And I was like, ooh, and they're so they're focusing on function. I'm focusing on more like aesthetic and also
Right.
function, but also aesthetic. And so
Right.
I said, hey, is there any way we can move that air intake like around the corner to this side wall where it won't be so front and center? And they were like, well, I guess we could do that. We'd have to just add a little more, piping to get over there. And I'm like, sounds good. Let's do that, And so
Yeah.
they were able to move it. And it all worked out. But there were just a few things like that, or, where they were doing something like they thought they should, but it wasn't going to look how I wanted it to in the end. And I would just say visit your site often, and communication is huge. Like, communicate with your contractor as much as you can. Send pictures, or just talk to them as much as you can, text them, um, because you can't over communicate when you're building a home, because like this is your home and they want to do what your wishes are, but they may not know that if you don't talk to them often.
Yeah, and pictures have been really good because sometimes
Yeah.
I'll have people trying to argue with me. I'm like, no, 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 hold on. This is a picture of the choice that we made
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yes.
And that's been really helpful.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a
especially
good
like
point.
you. I mean, you're home with like two little kids. You can't just be like showing up at your house every day to check on progress. So, yeah,
No.
like utilize technology, send pictures, and make the most of that. Okay, I think we have time for one more question. I'm going to ask a big question for you, and you might need to take a long time to answer it, but we'll have to get the Cliff Note version and then later turn this question into an episode probably. All
Okay.
right, so you have a blended family and it's working so well. You have your bonus son and
Yes.
you have your babies, and you're you make it work so well, and you have a good relationship with your bonus son's mom, and that is something that is so awesome and so unique. And what would you say are reasons that you do have such a successful relationship and experience with a blended family?
Well, first, my parents are divorced and my dad remarried to a wonderful woman and a great family. But I think there were some choices that were made that were different than I would have made. There were some cultural differences in certain things. And and I just think that there were some challenges that I had growing up because, I grew up in a time where like mental health wasn't really discussed and certain priorities weren't made. Children were kind of meant to be quiet and seen and not heard. And so as much as my parents tried, they both tried very hard, and I know they love me very much, there were some difficulties that we had, as any blended family typically would. So I had to have a different experience because I was a product of divorce. And as well as my parents navigated, I wanted to do better. So I was able to prioritize that. And I know what it feels like to be a stepchild. So I've always at the forefront of my mind, I've made sure that I want to ensure that my bonus son feels completely 1000% knows that he is my child. I fell in love with his father because of the way that he was as a dad. So I look at it as a bonus, like a benefit that I got to see kind of behind the curtain and see how Rob was going to be as a father. And I knew that I wanted to participate in that. And I could trust that he would be a good dad. I got really lucky because Caden's just a really, really, really good kid, and his mom's a really good mom. We're different. We do things differently. She's beautiful and gorgeous and a successful actress and has just been so like fun and fun loving. And I really enjoy her company and being around her. There were definitely
That
like,
says a lot about you, though. I mean, because a lot of women are not secure enough to be able to acknowledge that about their husband's ex-wife. I mean, that to me,
it was a little bit
you were amazing and secure in yourself to be that.
Thank you. Yeah. It was intimidating. I'm not going to lie to you. It was intimidating. I mean, my husband's ex-wife is like, a big actress. There was a moment when I couldn't turn on Netflix without like seeing her in a movie or a show or something. I'm like, I'm gonna have to get used to it or not. And my husband was very adamant when I came on the scene and we started to get serious. He's like, she's not that I ever wanted her to go anywhere, but he's like, she is the mother of my child. So she's always going to, he's been very good about that. She will always take priority, like my kid, because I met him right when Caden was in his freshman year of high school. So it was a very critical and pivotal time in Caden's life that it was like, Natalia calls anybody, that's the priority. And when he set the framework that way and their relationship, while of course there's always disputes, they're not married for a reason. So there's disputes. They've really genuinely managed to have a friendship. And I think that was probably the most intimidating part for me, was because they did have this dynamic of they've known each other for 25 years. They still love each other, not in a romantic way, but they have love for each other. She's remarried. She's like, her and I had Kaya and her son around the same time. We went through it. She's just a genuinely really good person too. Like when, the funny thing is when Cashton went through a medical thing, his medical emergency, Natalia was the second person that reached out to me. And she was the one that like talked me through a lot of what I was dealing with, because we had dealt with some medical stuff with Caden where he was in the hospital for a little while for ITP. He had some sort of, some things going on. He's fine. He's great now, but it was scary for a minute. And so I reached out to her. She had experienced having a child in the hospital that I hadn't yet. And so she was able to be there for me. Her husband, her brother was actually, I call him my brother-in-law. He was the one that drove me to the hospital because Robert needed to be home with Kaya. So the dynamic is definitely weird.
Anybody, it's not weird, it's unusual, but it is so awesome. We've got to have another cool. Have a whole podcast episode on this. I have to run, and I'm so sorry.
Okay, yeah.
That's so much though, and let's have an episode on this because it's inspiring. It's amazing. And I know a lot of our viewers have blended families and they want tips on how to do this.
Yeah.
I know that.
Yeah, definitely. Excited
more to come. Let's do another Q&A also, because this was a lot of fun.
I'll do it when Cashton's sleeping.
Yeah, it was entertaining. I loved it. I hope everybody enjoyed this episode, and we will talk next week.
Okay, bye.